It's another Bull in the Basement, and the only reason I have my next guest on is because we played golf, not together, but we played golf at Pendleton Creek, formerly known as Tantera, the other day, and he pulls up next to my golf cart in his golf cart, and he goes, "When am I getting on Bull in the Basement?" Just a few days later, you're booked and on camera, Kevin Sylvester. How are you?
Good. See, I've done a nice job being my own agent all these years,
Right.
and it works again. So great to be here.
Sadly, I don't pay. Maybe a beer next time I see you. That's about it.
I'm in for that.
Okay, good. So anyway, you, radio, TV, SiriusXM, website, podcast. What's left for you to do, pal?
Make money. No,
we're both in that same club. I know how it is. Yes.
No.
Attempting this.
It's been a very interesting career, and I feel weird saying career, Bull, because I feel like I'm still young. I feel like I'm just getting started still in a way, but then I think back to all the cool things I do. Matter of fact, that day I saw you at Pendleton Creek. I was playing golf. My friends at Michelob Ultra, sorry to drop a sponsor, but
all good.
My friends at Michelob Ultra.
I know now that they have marketing money, so I drink beer. I'm in my basement. I have a kegerator. Michelob.
There you go. they do a promotion where folks could win a round of golf with me. So we've done a few of them this year, and that group was there. So I was telling them the story, and I was telling them how, when I covered training camp at Fredonia, so I go back that far. And it's just kind of cool to tell stories about, Thurman Thomas and Jim Kelly and all of a sudden, it just made me think like, wow, it's pretty amazing. I got to do that super young in my career. And then now I get to walk fairways with Phil Mickelson, Rory McIlroy, Tiger Woods and company. So it's been pretty great and a whole lot of stuff in between there.
Yeah, that does not suck at all. So, okay, you mentioned being a young man. We're both 50-ish. And before I even get into the whole like career and golf and stories and media and all that stuff that we both have done, we had some really interesting conversation after golf the other day with, having a couple of beers. And I don't have kids, but most of my friends are our age and have kids that are approaching, like junior, senior, college, early college years. And we had this two different conversations, but they were both about the same thing, generally about kids, adolescents, young adults in 2021 compared to what we were in, I guess, the 80s, right? For most of us, or early 90s, whatever the case may be. And a couple of things we talked about were like drinking. Like when we were kids, like we would go to the beach or the railroad crossing or the woods or anywhere we could go so we couldn't be found. And it was just the thing to do. It was a young adult, adolescence pastime to go drinking and get a buzz and whatever. And that in 2021, it's not really a thing that I'm aware of. I mean, most of the guys that I know that have kids that are, junior, senior high school or early college, like their thing is like video games or sports or social media, which is odd for us to even grasp, I think.
Yeah, it's different, but in a good way.
Yeah, in a great way.
For obvious reasons.
Unless, of course, they're doing things on social media they shouldn't be, which some do.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Which you have to police. And that's another thing in 2021, the parents have to do that they didn't have to do when we were kids, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's different. Like, anytime I get frustrated with like how much video game time or something, my teenage son, God, it was just yesterday. I'm like, dude, go outside just for, and he's into so many other things. Like your mind's, I'm doing this, and that. He's actually practicing guitar right now as we're doing this. I'm like, cool. He's practicing a little Metallica.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, awesome. But I'm thankful, Mike, he didn't do the stupid things that most of us, our age bracket, are not proud of and classify as stupid. Especially those that grew up in rural areas.
Right.
So I'm thankful for that. But yeah, it's different. And I think in a good way. It's
So
different.
I don't know which one of us, because there's four of us sitting at the table. One of us said something about, man, and I can refer to this too directly because my relatives have a kid that's going off to school and another kid that's about to go off to school in terms of college. And these kids are like the best kids on the planet. And they play sports and they're involved in like student government and clubs and art and you name it. And so drinking for them is like a joke. We're like, hey, did you guys have like a big party? And did you guys, do you drink a lot? Is that a thing? And they're like, nah. And so my one relative was just like, man, I got to get my kid drunk. And I think one of us at the table said that just so they know that when they go to college, and I'm not talking about like pledging or hazing, obviously that's horrific. I'm just talking about you're just going to a kegger on a Friday or Saturday night at college, and maybe it's your first exposure to like mass party drinking. And so the one of us, I can't remember which one of us said it, but was like, man, I got to get my kid drunk just the one time, just so they know how it feels when it's happening. And I'm going to police it, obviously. And then how it feels the next day after you've done it.
Yeah, no, yeah, it was the other fella there who was saying it. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I could kind of understand that, because you wouldn't want that first experience to be in that uncontrolled environment, right?
Right.
Yeah, that was an interesting it's interesting talking about it now, but it's an interesting conversation that, like, yeah, as those who have kids watching as they get older, like, you got to start thinking about that stuff, right? Like, do I got to start policing the beer fridge at home? Do I, and like, do we do this? And, I have a daughter in college, and she's just like, Dad, I don't want to. It's fine. No problem.
Yeah, right.
Are you kidding me? Are you trying to get my blessing on that? Yeah. You just want to go and study and do clubs and stuff. Amen.
Right. 100%. So that was one of the interesting conversations we had. And then the other one, again, similarly, showing the total differences over the last 40 years ish that it's been, 30 years, we'll call it. When we were kids, we could not wait to get our driver's license, right? I mean, we couldn't wait. Like that day when you turn 16, you go get your permit test, you sit at the desk, you do the written test, and then you find out how you do, and then you immediately set up your driver's test. And for me, so Dad, I never really drove much. Dad would take me to MCC in Rochester, the community college there, and take me and just drive the loop and drive in the parking lots and whatever. That's kind of how I learned to drive. But as soon as I could get my driver's test, I took it. And I had a great guy that basically took me on my test because I probably should have failed, but he let me do my K-turn twice, and passing was an 80 and he gave me an 81. I don't know how I possibly even got it on the first try, but needless to say. So kids, again, in our age group that have kids that are around driving age, they're like, I don't care about driving.
That's
driving. Mom and Dad take me everywhere. Driving a car. I don't need a car.
Yeah. Well, so two funny stories, or at least I think are funny with that. So when I was the first time I drove a car was I was 14 years old, and if my mom's watching this, she'll be pissed seeing this. But we had this Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme we were selling. Like, I grew up, again, Waterloo, New York, but I was really Junius, so, kind of country. Think Outlet Mall along the thruway.
Yeah, okay.
I'd put up a dunk rim in my driveway, right? So like 8.5 foot, so it could all feel like we were, Clyde Drexler, Michael Jordan slamming it. And I remember calling my buddy Brian up and like, hey, can you come out? He's like, my parents at work. It's summer. I said, I'll get you. Like, what do you mean I'll get you? Yeah, me and another buddy, we'll come get you. Like, I said, don't worry about it. And so I just took the for sale sign down on the car. I was 14. I drove the car down. He's like, what are you doing? I go, just get in the freaking car. Come on back home and get a ride home, and parked it. And again, something if my kids did, I would kill them. It's funny. So my daughter, she's 19 now. When she got her permit, I was driving her home, and I pulled over in a church spot. It's maybe a half mile from our house. I go, all right, get in there. Let's drive home. She's like, what? I go, yeah, you got your permit. She's like, I never drive. I don't know how to drive. Like, never done this. And she starts freaking out. And then my wife's yelling at me like, Why'd you have her drive? I'm like, well, she's got a permit. She's got to learn somehow. She's like, yeah, no. We got to take her, in the old Tops parking lot, or like you said, the loop, and to get him some experience there. And yeah, my youngest, who he has his permit, and I said to him, like, dude, we need to practice more, because at some point, you're gonna want to, go on a date, and not every dad drop you off and be, hey, so how are things going, right? So, we'll see how that goes.
100%. That is so funny.
But
man.
the other thing was, but growing up in the country, like, I cut the grass on a tractor. My neighbors had a tractor. We rode mini bike, all these things. And just now with all these activities, there's not that free time. We got push mower, all those things. Like, there's not the, unless we go to the goat cart track, those even exist anymore. They don't get the driving, around the yard and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. What was your first car? Was that it?
No, my first car was my buddies called the Millennium Falcon. It was so big. It was a 77 Monte Carlo, white with a red interior. That thing had a 305 engine. That thing was a beast. And the nice part was, we used to, another buddy had a Chevy Nova, and we would race to American Legion ball games. So, like, Clyde, Savannah, who could get there? And I remember one time we got there in 12 minutes. It was stupid how fast we were going. Again, something else. If my kids are watching, I'll kill you if you do it.
Yeah, 79 Buick Skylark here. It was kind of a lime green, white leather interior with the Casio cassette in-dash stereo.
I didn't even have a cassette, dude. I didn't have a cassette. I just, had the radio.
Just radio? Yeah.
Just the radio.
Yeah.
I had a buddy who had a car. God, what the hell was this car? He had an 8-track player.
Yeah, for sure.
That was cool.
Dude,
my second car, I remember my summer job, I saved up money, and I bought I was an 81 Toyota Celica GT with a moonroof, hatchback, rear wheel drive, which is great in the winters, not really. But man, you crank that roof open, it drove the girls crazy.
What is it? Right. What is it about the second car? Because my second car was a 78 BMW 320i. Same thing, 2-door, sunroof, the whole deal. Whatever speed it was. But still, it was badass. Until, of course, I figured out at the age of 19 or 20, whatever it was when I had it, how expensive it was to fix a BMW. Then I had to unload it because I couldn't afford to fix the ultimate oil leak that it had and engine replacement that it needed, because I probably beat the crap out of it and didn't take good enough care of it to keep it where it should have been.
The other thing about that Celica, it was a GT, it was a 5-speed, which was awesome. And I think I paid $600 for it.
Yeah.
Back in 1990, I paid $600 for it. I would not put anyone in a car I pay $600 for now, right? But back then, it's like someone's yard, 600. You got it, We'll make it work. And that's back when you could work on the cars too. I used to change my own oil. If something, I could change a spark plug. These engines now, you can't. It's all.
You have to plug them in.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So you probably got the Celica, and I probably got the BMW for the same reasons. Did it work for that reason for you? Because it didn't for me. I've never had game. I still don't have much game now. I thought the BMW was going to be insta game. It just didn't work out.
Yeah, I thought it was a cool car. Yeah, I didn't have a ton of game. As my wife tells me all the time, you have no game. I said, you know what? My game ended 22 years ago or 23 years ago when you said yes. So
great answer. Use that, fellas. Use
that. That's right.
Speaking of aging, how often do you, because I'm just finding out now, because speaking of wives, my wife will occasionally point it out to me, like, because ultimately, if we're out together, it could potentially be embarrassing. Well, it would be embarrassing for me, but potentially embarrassing for her. But how often are you, as you start to age, are you looking for 3 different things, and they all are regarding hair, ear, nose, and gray? Because nonstop, that's all I'm looking for all the time, and it's depressing.
Yeah, it's amazing that the nose hair is like, I mean, come on, like I seem like I'm trimming them every other day, and the grays, like, I didn't shave today, which before you started recording, like, thanks for shaving for me. You're welcome. And which is kind of funny because people are used to, see me on TV like, oh, I didn't recognize you with the 5 o'clock shadow or the beard. And I'm like, this is actually how I am, except for when I'm on television.
Right.
For the most part, I always had the 5 o'clock shadow. But yeah, now, like, I had a good COVID beard going. Like, I mean, it was good. And there was just way too much gray in there. And my daughter said to me, Dad, who's trying to look older? Nobody. Shave. I'm like, oh, great point. So far so good on the ears, I think.
Good for you.
Man, the grays, oh God. And then I think the first gray hair I saw was on my chest, like, in my early 30s. I was like, oh, what the hell is that?
Yeah, my wife pointed one out to me the other day in the pool. She's like, you have a gray chest hair. I'm like, no, I don't. I mean, I got like angry about it. No, that's blonde.
But it's okay on the sides. Like, I've got it like, kind of on the sides. It's distinguished look. But now you got like wings now. Yeah. Yeah, but it's starting to infiltrate, the top. I take my hat off, but my hair is so terrible. I haven't showered yet. Okay. But it's just starting to infiltrate the top. And now it's like, all right, well, do I want to go with and I remember this the one time with Roby. Mike Robitaille used to do the Sabres things with. I'm like, dude, your hair's orange, man. Like, like, just stop. If you're dyeing your hair and you go, like guys have that, you go jet black, right? You can go, I don't know, platinum blonde, but they try to go brown, and then it ends up looking orange.
Yeah.
No good.
Yep. 100%. Kevin Sylvester, my good buddy's on with us. He does so much stuff. SiriusXM for golf coverage. You mentioned the Sabres. You've done TV. You've done radio. Tee to Green, obviously we'll talk about for sure. I just want to touch on one more thing very quickly about kids and driving. I didn't do the math, but I'm just, let's just say, because kids are so savvy with their devices right now. So I'm just curious if some of them think that they could actually, and they're so much smarter than we are now than when we were that age. So I'm just curious how many of them are actually thinking that they could actually, let's say, just Monday through Friday. Now, this would, on the weekend, or if you're going on vacation, this probably wouldn't count because it would be unaffordable. But if they're thinking that they could Uber, let's say, when they get to work age, that they actually could, let's say you spend $50 a day on Uber.
Yeah.
So that's $250 a Monday through Friday. That's $1,000 a week on Uber. So it's, 52 grand. Yeah, it would not be affordable, whatever. But I'm curious how many of them actually think that they could do that and offset the cost of what it would have for a payment, insurance, gas, upkeep, and if it's even close or not. I don't think it is, but
no, it wouldn't be close. I think they're thinking even differently, because we already have the technology a little bit now with Teslas, right? Self-driving. I think they're thinking, I'm not going to have to drive because the car is going to drive itself, and they're going to, what, 10 years from now, maybe sooner. Like,
plug in destination and it takes you where you got to go.
Boom. Right. Yeah, absolutely. I could totally see that happen. Or they think Musk is going to have that tunnel everywhere. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's going to get in a portal. At some point, they're going to be able to walk out to their garage. It's going to be a portal, and they're going to go in a tube, and it's going to shoot where they need to go. Or they're not going to have to go anywhere. Right. I mean, the pandemic, like, we can all look, we could do this from home. Now it's pretty incredible, which would, our professors back when we went to broadcasting school never would have thought this was possible. I remember graduating and working at BEN and doing commercials on reel to reel, back from like sophomore year in college. I'm like, we didn't even have that technology in college. We're doing reel to reel. Thinking back then we'd be able to broadcast from home, not a chance. So it's gonna evolve so rapidly. Who knows? There can be bubbles. We'll just be flying.
Yeah. Probably true. So for those of you that are not in Western New York watching this, Kevin's been doing media in Buffalo for years. Like I said, Sabres coverage.
You can say legend. I'm just a Buffalo broadcasting legend. Someone introduced me as that at a charity thing prior to the pandemic. I go, what the hell? I'm like, Irv Weinstein's a legend. I'm not a legend.
Yeah. I mean, you're junior legend, maybe.
Okay.
Like, I didn't want to use king of all media, even though you've done all media. But
you know what, the most complimentary thing and yet worst thing is, so I travel quite a bit, and inevitably someone at the airport and a flight back to Buffalo is, hey, are you are you Kevin Sylvester? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, I grew up watching you on Sabre. I was like, damn, am I really? You grew up watching me? Jeez. I don't know if you allow swearing on this, but I was about to say something. But
yeah, it's all right. Whatever you got to do. You're right. It is a shock to the system, man. Someone was, hey, man, I remember, I was like in middle school listening to you when you were on the edge. Like,
yeah, right. Well, and I remember you from CMF.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
It's funny on the other side of that. This just happened at a golf outing. This guy says to me, man, it must have been tough on you this past season, commenting, on the TV show, the Sabres, man. That just makes your job tougher. I said, I haven't been on the television broadcast it's now 9 years, 2012. And his look on his face, I go, that's okay. No one else has been watching either.
Yeah.
So
listen, man, I get the same thing from doing Bill's radio. Exactly. Right. Man, I love you on the post-game show. But I don't tell him. I just nod my head and say, hey, thanks, man. Awesome. Whatever.
Well, I usually don't, but this fellow was being a little obnoxious, in other ways. So that's what I told him. But it's all complimentary.
Sure.
It's flattering when someone comes up to you in public or says, hey, I recognize your voice, Bull, and they know who you are. Or they see you and say, hey, I miss you. And I was like, hey, that means a lot. It means
no doubt about it.
You have a connection to the audience.
For sure. So Tee to Green's your baby. And I want to talk about SiriusXM too, because I think it's super cool.
Sure.
But how did you ultimately get into this whole golf thing, man? I mean, clearly you love the game, but how did that even spawn? And we may get to fishing if we have time.
Sure.
I know you've dove into that.
Nice
segue. Thank you. Yeah. Well, not even, but yeah.
So here's Tee to Green, and I'll go back further to when I was at WBEN in 1997, 98, that hockey season. Lindy Ruff, I think it was his first year as coach. I hosted the Lindy Ruff show on WBEN. So it was Monday nights, like at 6 p.m. And then we do like Monday Night Quarterback. I hosted that show with Larry Felser. What a treat that was. The late, great Larry Felser. He was just a gem of a guy. Love working with him. He called me kid all the time. I love Larry. But anyways.
And hold on, let me interrupt very quickly.
Yeah.
So for those of you that are out of town that know names like, Tony Kornheiser, Mike Wilbon, the Bob Ryan, all these now newspaper writers that are on TV, that was Larry Felser in Buffalo.
Yes.
I mean, he was one of the most respected sports writers in the entire nation. And that was Larry Felser, just to give people that idea that aren't from Buffalo, they don't know the name, but he was a legend. Continue. Sorry.
No. That's good. I'm glad you explained who that was. So anyways, Lindy Ruff was coach of the Sabres. And then we had this hole coming up. This is spring of 98. And I went to our program director and I said, hey, can I do a golf show from 6 to 7 in that hole? And they're like, a golf show? What are you going to do? I said, I'm going to find a pro. I'm going to have them on and people call in and we'll answer their questions. And then, maybe I'll go and interview course managers about the course, the design and stuff. And I'm like, all right, we'll give it a try. And it turns out, depending upon, whoever chronicles this stuff, it was one of the first recorded golf radio shows on a mainstream station in the country. The only reason I know this was Sal Majorana, who is still a Bills writer, Rochester DNC. So he contacted me and he said, hey, Kev, I got to write this little blurb for a PJ magazine, little section notes, Western New York section. And I hear you do the show. And I'm like, yeah, sure. I tell him about the show. Calls me like a few days later. They want to do a full page thing on it in PGA magazine in the back page. Can you send me a picture? So my dad was like into photography then. I'm like, Dad, can you come take a picture of me? And Gary Battistoni was the golf pro. So he comes to the studio, takes his photo. And so the back page of PGA magazine is this article, our picture in there, golf on the radio. And if it were now or a little more savvy in my career, man, I would have taken huge advantage of this. But I didn't know what the hell was going on. Everybody's calling the program director. Yeah, this is how they do the show, just giving away industry secrets, right? But ever since then, we did that show for a few years. I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, did a show there, came back. I decided, you know what, I'm going to procure the time myself, sell it, and
take it to TV.
And then I decided after the first year, I started doing TV for the Sabres. I'm like, TV is easy. Let's do it on television. So I was a college friend who knew how to run the camera and produce things. And he and I started a TV show. He's moved on to other ventures. So now we've done 14 years. We do a spring special now on Channel 2. It's just too costly to do week in and week out production costs to do it, and where I can make it reasonable for sponsors to get on board. And plus, there's so many other outlets, right? I mean, someone wants to watch golf tips, they can go watch it on YouTube. Yeah. But I've had great partners locally, great partners at Channel 2 to keep it going. I enjoy doing it. I'm not a golf pro, but I play one on television and on the radio, so it's been a lot of fun. And it's turned into my career announcing golf for PGA Tour Radio, which is just a thrill. And
go ahead, finish your
story. No, I was just gonna say I never dreamed like when I went to college at Fredonia, I never dreamed of doing the things that I've done and did. Like I always thought I want to be the next Van Miller, and I'll put it right here. When Murph retires, I want to be the next guy. Who doesn't, right? Who doesn't in Buffalo be a brush? So I'm not making a crazy statement there. But I never thought I'd announce Buffalo Sabres games. I never thought I'd announce professional golf. But I did the Sabres, loved it. Doing professional golf and absolutely love it, and hope I do it the rest of my career.
It is cool, man. I have heard you do. I've been driving around in my car. I would put on SiriusXM and the PGA channel, which is 90 what?
92.
92. That's what I thought.
It's 92 and 108.
Yeah.
Whatever service you have.
So,
also free, by the way. You can listen on your phone and on your app. You just go to PGA Tour app, and they've got a little headset there. You listen for free during.
Even better. Even better. So I've heard you do it, and I'm like, this is awesome. Like I know this guy. He's on global radio doing these PGA events. So I want to ask you more about that, but I want to ask you a couple of other things golf wise. So according to all the people you've talked to over the years, teaching pros, actual players, what should be or is the most important part of somebody's golf game?
Oh, wow.
Because I know what I would say.
Well, that answer depends on expectation, I guess. But listen, the short game's the most important piece of the game. That's chipping and putting. Like if you want to reduce your scores, chip and putt, chip and putt, chip and putt, chip and putt. But driving's fun, right? I mean, just being able to get, hit the ball as hard as you can, as far as you can. Driving's fun. Matter of fact, was it Nicholas says off the tee that tee shot's the best. Hogan says second shot is more important. So it goes to show you that even two of the greats of all time, and I may even have that backwards on those two, but anyways, it just all depends on your perspective. I think the second shot is the most important because, when I see PGA Tour players, and this is, I tell everybody, aspiring young players, I've met a few, I'm like, look, they all hit bad tee shots. Every single one of them. One or two around for sure, but it's that next shot, right? You never see him, or rarely do you ever see him hit two bad ones in a row. So that second shot's important. That green in regulation, super important. I think that's the one I look at. If they can hit greens in regulation, then they're gonna have a good round.
Okay, you gave me like 5 answers there to my question, which is whatever. We'll move on. What's the
putting? Putting. I'll just say putting. How's that? Putting.
Well, no, I would say that's what I would say. I would say your brain, number one.
Sure.
Because so much. The game is incredibly psychological, as you know. But then I would say putting for sure. I mean, you watch pros, and it's rarely do they three putt.
Right.
And I mean, granted, they've been playing golf their entire lives. They know how to read greens, and they have caddies that know how to read greens, so they have help. But needless to say, I think putting and your brain are the two most important things. What's the best lesson you ever got?
Well, it's a shot that I go back to. Gary Battistoni, who's the local teaching pro that I started that show with. I took lessons from him early on, and he goes, "This is the base shot you're going to go back to for anything. Things aren't going right, or warm up. It's this little half pitching wedge. And it's just this little low pitching wedge shot. That'll be the base of your whole swing, and then you just take it back further and further. So every time I warm up with that. If I'm struggling, I'm like, I'm going to go to Gary's a little base shot there. It could be with a 5-iron, could be with a 7. That's the best lesson I've learned. I'll tell you the best mental lesson I learned just recently. And actually, I'm going to be hosting another chat with this guy this afternoon that we're recording this. Max Homa, right? PGA player.
Yes. Tell him about this, will you?
Yeah. So the PGA Tour during the pandemic, they've had, instead of pro-ams or some other opportunities for fans to see players in person and get autographs, they've created these Zoom chats. So I'm hosting one this afternoon for the FedEx St. Jude Classic. It'll be Max Homa, Victor Hovland, and there'll be 2 sessions for MasterCard holders. So if maybe someone watches a MasterCard holder took part, they get to ask questions. I relay the questions to the players. And the last one I did with Max Homa, who's a cool dude, and it was great. The first time I met him was on the 14th green at Riviera early this year when he won in the playoff over Tony Finau, and he's in tears because he won his hometown event.
Tiger and all of that. And
he got to meet Tiger. It was like just
that was super
deal.
Cool.
But a fan asked him, said, how do you deal with a bad shot? And he said, you know what? He goes, I don't remember who told me this, but I tell everybody this. He goes, why would I focus on one bad shot when I hit 15 great ones during the round? And that really, I'm like, wow, that really changed my stress level when I'm playing on a golf course. So I thought that was pretty cool. That's cool advice. Like, yeah, right. It makes sense. We all worry about, oh my God, this costs so much or whatever. Like, why focus on the one thing that's not how you plan, isn't going your way when so many other things are going right?
Have you ever broken a club? Mid round?
I came really close this year. Really close, and I almost snapped it over my knee. I was just I don't understand. I almost snapped the wedge over my knee, and I was just like, oh, all right, I'll toss them just to get rid of some of that energy. And then after I do it, I'm just like, what? Why? What are you getting so mad about here? See, here's the danger of getting your handicap at a certain level. All right, so mine's 6 right now. And which is pretty decent.
Yeah, I don't like you very much.
Yeah, no.
You suck.
Then I'm like, but my expectation is, hey, I'm going to go out there. I better shoot sub 78.
Right.
And and then if I don't, I'm like, oh, when I get mad, I'm like, what the hell are you getting mad for? There are guys who would kill to, do that. So yeah.
Quick tantrum story. I think you'll enjoy. I'm like 19 or 20. Playing golf with my my childhood buddies that I had learned to play golf with for 5 to 7 years, playing munis in Rochester. We're out in Churchville at the muni there. We're on a par 3. Now, all my buddies were way better golfers than me. So my one buddy, he gets up on the par 3. It's, I don't know, 170 yards, whatever. But it's tee box, pond, green. And we know what water does. Water is a magnet. Water gets in people's heads immediately on a par 3. So he gets up there, and this kid's steady. He's 19. He probably shoots on average low 80s. Really solid golfer. So he hits his first tee shot in the water. And oh, by the way, he's got a little bit of an edge in terms of temper when any kind of competition he's a part of, right? First one goes to the water. I'm like, hit another one, whatever. Take a strike. Second one in the water. Now you can see he's starting to steam. He is bubbling. He's broiling underneath. It's getting third one into the water. We're like, oh my God, this is not going to be good. Because I'm hitting one more. And if I don't get it on the green, that's it. I'm done for the day. Last one, fourth one in the water, goes to the cart, unstraps the bag, heaves the entire bag of golf clubs into the pond. Not kidding. I'm watching this whole thing, we should have tackled him in advance of the pond, but we didn't. And when he did it, we're like, what are you going to do? You're 19. You don't have money to go out and go get a whole new set of clothes. What, you idiot. And of course, he didn't go and fish him out or jump in the pond to grab him. He just sat in the cart and steamed. Later, he could laugh about it, but that's the worst tantrum I've ever seen live or on television in any kind of a golf setting. It was hysterical and crazy.
I control them now. I had one a couple weeks ago. See, I only do it if I'm in a competition, if I'm in a match, right? So I was at an invitational and I'm playing with my best friend I grew up with. We know each other for 4 years old. And the second shot I hit on this hole, I wasn't happy with. And the third didn't come out great. It was a little wedge shot. And I had 2 wedges in my hand. And I go, guys, sorry, I got to do this. And I was just controlled, but I'm like, I just got to do this. And I just helicopter. It didn't go as far as I want to go, guys. That wasn't good enough. I need to do it again. And then I gave it like all I, across the cart path on the next hole. And I'm like, okay, I'm good now. Sorry, guys. I just needed to do that. they were laughing. It was kind of like, I was like, excuse me, sir, may I please throw my golf club? It was kind of but I just needed that energy and I didn't want to slam it in the ground. And
this is what's so great about golf is every guy around our age has a million golf stories. So I'm going to add a story to yours, similar. Playing just BS round with a bunch of guys, a morning after a drunk. We're not feeling great. We're on the tee box, hit a terrible shot. And they created this rule that once on, I don't know if we played 9 or 18 that day, it didn't matter. But once around, you could throw your club. If you had a bad shot off the tee, you could, if you wanted to, throw your club. And if your club went further than your ball, you can replace your ball where your club fell. Okay.
I like that.
Yeah. So tee off on this one hole, hit a worm burner. It was awful. And it was like, all right, you can throw, this is your big chance. Throw your club. Like, oh, okay, whatever. So I throw my club. It goes, I don't know, 30 feet in the air and 30 yards or something up into a tree, stays in the tree, does not drop out of the tree. I'm like, come, you drop out, little wind. Come on, wind. Just dread. They had to bring a truck out with a ladder. Some guy had to climb up like 30 feet into this tree to grab my 4-iron. Needless to say, I never did that again.
You should have left it. It's a 4-iron. Those are tough to hit.
No, you're right. You're right. So what's the best course you ever played?
I'll say Pinehurst number 2.
That's awesome.
Just played it this year.
That's awesome.
And then after that, I'd say Oak Hill East.
Yeah,
those 2.
Yeah, I told you the story the other day about how I played Oak Hill East in Payless wingtip pleather dress shoes because they looked like golf shoes. Like I didn't own golf shoes forever. I played in sneakers as a kid. And so I'm probably 23 or 4 or 5. And now I might have even been younger than that. And I get a media invite to one of the PGA events that was there. And I'm playing and I said, I don't have golf shoes, but I wanted to look right.
Yes.
So I'm wearing these black leather wingtips with rubber soles on the golf, just so I look good, but I'm sliding every shot. I'm sliding. My feet were terrible, but yeah, that's an amazing golf course to play. Speaking of, so you mentioned Victor Hovland, and you mentioned Max Homa. Now I don't think Max Homa would be part of the US team, but how about the Ryder Cup? I like the U.S. chances, especially with the likes of Colin Morikawa, the way he's playing. But what do you think about the Ryder Cup? I mean, it's so cool that we think it's going to be back, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's going to be back. Whistling Straits. They delayed it a year because they wanted fans to be there because that's the energy. Of the Ryder Cup. It's amazing how Europe. I mean, it's a huge deal for. I mean, and I'm not saying it's not a huge deal for the American players, but the European players, I mean, it's a different level. I mean, think about Sergio Garcia prior to winning the Masters. He was a golfing legend in Europe because of his Ryder Cup performance, right? Whereas in the United States, you'd be like, that's Justin Leonard. Is he a hero? Because
Patrick Reed.
Right. I mean, we think of Justin. I'll use Justin Leonard. He's the one who made the putt at Brookline way back
in Boston. Yeah.
Hardcore golf fans know Justin Leonard, but if you say Justin Leonard, who's Justin Leonard? Hey, guy's won 2 majors. He's won a PGA championship and an Open championship.
Wasn't he a sprinter or something? Wasn't he like a track guy?
I'm not. No,
I'm kidding. But if you heard Justin Leonard, random person that's a sport. I think he run. Wasn't he on the USA Olympic team or something? No, golfer.
I look at Colin Montgomery for example, right? How many times all those close calls at the U.S. Open, but Ryder Cup, man, the guy's a stud and a legend for that because they win, and there's just this camaraderie that they have to beat the Americans, right? The rest of the world you see in the Olympics now, is just beat the Americans, and so and they grow up playing a lot more team golf in Europe, a lot of team match play, and a lot of just match play in general than we do here in the United States. I think that's changing a little bit with a lot of things going on. But Team USA is deep. It's about feeding off each other and being able to. And USA, when they went to the pod system under Azinger, that's when they won again. But the talent is so deep, and you got guys like Colin Morikawa. Seems like nothing bothers him. He's so talented. You've got different kind of players in DeChambeau who hits the ball a freaking mile. You got Koepka. Those two. Whatever's going on with those two, I think they'll have a beer and get over it. Just my opinion. But Koepka's a great player, and he's not talked about much. Dustin Johnson.
Yeah. JT.
Patrick Reed, who gets fired up for these things. Whether or not Mickelson makes a team or not, I think he's got to have a good week this week at the FedEx St. Jude and a good little run in the playoffs there for Steve Stricker to pick him as a captain's pick. So there's so many options for Team USA. The talent pool is so deep, and I just think it'll be a fantastic match. It always comes down to Sunday. The individual matches, Team USA does great, and it's the team one that they struggle a bit with because of style. But the last time out, you may recall, like in France, they narrowed the fairways. So like USA, hey, we just bomb it, right? So you get to set the course up the way you want. They set it up perfectly, where it penalized the United States for not finding fairways.
One thing, maybe this will be one of our final things, so I know you got to run. With all your golf connections, and we were talking on the course with some friends the other day about how golf is, if you're a fan of golf, it's so fun to watch now because you never know who's going to win. There's not like 5 top guys. There's like 25 top guys or more. That are so solid that can pretty much win every week. It's so unpredictable. And in saying that, like, I think golf is in an unbelievably great place. Not that, I mean, I would understand the argument that yes, they need some sort of air quotes leadership, or that primary guy to kind of lead the charge. But the whole setup for this and the point of the question is, amongst all your golf chat and the people you talk to in the industry, is Tiger done? I mean, no one's talked about Tiger. Tiger's not done anything publicly. He's like gone. It's almost bizarre.
There was a photo of him walking into a follow-up appointment in LA last week without he had a sleeve on the leg and was putting some weight on the leg with crutches. So hope there. It's his right leg, not his left leg. If it was a left leg, a lot of people think it would be more problematic. Not that what didn't occur wasn't problematic. Because of the torque that goes on the left leg, and you pivot with that right leg. This is Tiger Woods we're talking about. If there were any other golfer, I'd be like, this is Tiger Woods, the mentally toughest athlete of all time, in my opinion. Just with what he's had to deal with and what he's come through in competition. I mean, the guy's tough as nails. So if anybody's gonna come back, it's gonna be Tiger. I think he will come back. I wonder what the accident did on his back. Okay, he was still recovering from a back procedure, and I'm no crash expert, no doctor, but rolling over a car, I would have to think does something to your spine. So I just think it's gonna be a longer recovery. If I'm him, this is just me guessing. Okay, the 2022 Masters would be like a target return. But it wouldn't surprise me if it was a 2023 Masters as a target return because of the back and leg and severity of it. But again, this is Tiger Woods. I absolutely rooting for him to come back. Golf needs him. The players want him back because he's done so much for them and so much for the game. It's exciting just to have him in a field. And he is good enough, clever enough to figure out a way to compete. Will he break Jack Nicklaus's major record? Probably not. Although, God, I hate even saying that because Tiger's watching. If he loves Bull in the Basement podcast, and be like, "Damn it, Kevin, I am going to prove you wrong," and that'd be totally fine. Totally fine. with me to do so. I think his best chances, by the way, doing that, Masters and Open Championship.
All right. And
Those
by
two,
the
I
way,
think.
yeah, Tiger, if you're watching and you're really that bored, well, you clearly know where to find Bull in the basement. So anyway.
Yeah, good luck with that. Hey, we're not talking fishing at all.
It's up to you. You told me you had X amount. I mean, if you want to, I can.
Nobody's beating on the studio door right now. So
okay, fine. Well then, okay. If you want to do the fishing, I got to ask you one more golf question.
Yes,
and it's important, and it sort of flew under the radar. But obviously, DeChambeau, you mentioned him with the Ryder Cup team, and, and how crazy his swing is, and how much he bombs the ball, and how much people hate the fact that he's super slow when he plays, and yada yada yada. And he's sort of on an island. You know, he has friends, but he does his own thing, right? He goes to the tee for 6 hours after a round to the practice. Like, what are you doing? But there's a reason why his game is elevated to the place it is now. And so recently the story came out that his long-term caddy broke up with him literally in the middle of a tournament, that just doesn't happen. So my question for you is, again, through your knowledge and being around the game as close to it as it is, how important is that caddy golfer relationship, and how much does the caddy make the golfer? I mean, granted, obviously these guys, to be at the level they're at, to be playing on the PGA Tour, have to be phenomenal players to begin with, but how much does that caddy add to what their physical and mental game is? How important are they to them?
Well, I think the mental part of it quite a bit. The caddy relationship with the player, you talk to any player, I mean, that caddy's a confidant. They spend so much time with that caddy. That caddy is someone who's a reassuring presence. Somebody will say, "Hey, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that?" And it's funny. You'll see, caddy player arguments on the golf course. Like, oh, they're going to fire the caddy. But you think about it. Caddies by name. Like Bones Mackay now is a commentator on NBC. So do you think he didn't matter to Phil's career and doesn't know the game? John Wood now was Matt Kuchar's longtime caddy. He's out there walking fairways with me on the PGA Tour. So, yeah, they know golf. They know the shots. It matters. A lot of them are pretty good players themselves. Xander Schauffele just won gold. Austin Kaiser, his caddy, was a teammate of his in college. Really good golfer. So, yeah, they know their player. They know their player's swing. They know how they're hitting the golf ball. So, yeah, they are a significant influence on their game and how they perform. Ultimately the player's the boss. What they say goes. They overrule on club selection and all those things. But, players want a consistent caddy. And sometimes they want the caddy to just give me a number. Sometimes they want, hey, what do you think? But they are absolutely significant. That's why we mention their names on our broadcasts on PGA Tour Radio. That's why, Teddy Scott, right? Bubba Watson's caddy. Like, these are names that are familiar now.
Yeah, Michael Greller. Yeah, I mean.
Yes, Michael Greller, Jordan Spieth's caddy.
Yeah.
Yep.
So for you kind of, I'm just guessing this. I've never asked you this question, but when you're covering tournaments for SiriusXM and you're inside the ropes, you're right on the golf course with the golfers. I'm assuming, get there a day or two earlier, practice rounds. You're watching guys, but you're also doing, for your preparation, some of the same precise work that the caddies do, right? In terms of getting yardages and lies and rough length and, the stimp meter and how greens are running and which way they're breaking and all of that, right? You do all that research for yourself like a caddy would do when you're going to
go the day before. So we're the day before on a Wednesday during the Pro-Am practice round. And yes, we have the yardage books the caddies and players get. We take those out there with them. We go and survey the course. We'll go out there and walk certain things, look at the condition of the rough, of the fairways. We'll look at the greens. We talk to the caddies and the players. That's our day to talk to them during it. I'll even, during the round, if there's a question, I ask the caddies, right, for the most part. Unless it's like, if I get a chance to talk to the player, I will. I'll give you an example of it. Mexico Championship, right? Club de Golf de Chapultepec. Love that place. It's in Mexico City. First hole, drivable par 4. It's like 370, but it plays like 330 downhill or something. And you're 8,000 feet above sea level, so it's going to travel further. So Rory nearly aces the hole. And just, throws it's a tap-in. It almost aced the par 4. And I hit iron off the tee. And so, because his caddy, Harry Diamond, was doing something, I'm in the back of the green. Rory's like, I go, hey, Rory, what, I go, what was that? He goes, that was my 4-iron. I'm like, okay, all right, thanks, Rory. Boom. And then the next day he hits it on again, and he's walking and goes, same as yesterday. Like you already knew I was going to ask him. So, that part's kind of cool to talk to him. The caddies are great information. They'll tell me a lot during it. If I have a question on something, hit a ruling, whatever, they'll flash. If you wonder sometimes how announcers know, like there's hand signals. All right. So, that's an 8-iron. That's pitch and wedge.
No kidding.
Yes. Yeah. So, some will say, hey, do you want me to give them to you? Like, yes. So you look over and you catch it and you know what it is.
That is super cool. And that's amazing. This is why people watch Bull in the Basement, for information on like that, for sure. And then Rory Mcilroy, for those of you that don't know, this is kind of cool. Western New York relate, married a girl from Irondequoit.
Yes.
And I understand is like a member at Oak Hill. He's got his own locker. He, randomly shows up and play around here and there just for fun, and has really embraced Western New York, actually.
You know what? So I mentioned those Zoom chats. I had a chance to host one with him. It was like in November. He missed his obligation from the Tour Championship because they had Poppy, their first child.
That's right.
And so he wanted to make it up. So I said, hey, can you host this thing with Rory with, a couple of these companies? I'm like, sure. We got on 50. I had 15 minutes with him. We're just shooting the bull like this. And we're talking about Rochester quite a bit. So yeah, he's fond of the area. He's fond of the pizza up here in Western New York, in our region. We're talking about that a lot. And he's just, for a world star, that's Rory McIlroy's a world star. I got to tell you, he is just a super nice guy. I would say as down to earth as they come, right? I mean, he's just a genuinely nice guy, which is refreshing in the world of sports.
Okay, Kev. So, here's your chance now. Fishing.
Well, I didn't know if you want to talk fishing.
Here's the thing. So for me, like my wife got me the whole 9 yards a couple years ago. I don't know if it was for Christmas or a birthday or anniversary or something. I don't know.
That means she wanted to get you out of the house.
Basically. Well, yeah. And go learn how to fish, and not that we'll eat for a day, but we'll live forever. Right.
Yes.
So she got me the pole, the tackle box, the whole 9 yards. Right. I don't know if I have like undiagnosed ADD or something, but I just get bored out of my mind. I know people are like, I love it because I can go out there and clear my mind and relax and not think, and I'm one with nature and blah, blah, blah. And that stuff drives me bananas. So you're telling me that you grew up fishing. Am I right?
I did. Yes.
Okay. So you grew up fishing in Waterloo or in that area on the creeks there. But now since you've moved here to Western New York years ago, you have continued your fishing dominance here. And now
no, I just took it up. So I just got
you just got back into it.
Reacquainted with it, but
okay.
in a different way last year during the pandemic. So we could golf, remember, in the spring, then we couldn't golf. And I'm like, well, what the hell? I'm going to take up steelhead. I just said, I'm going to steelhead fish. Like, I have a friend who did it. I'm like, take me fishing. So he took me steelhead fishing, and I caught one, and is immediately addicted, because the fight in a river stream is awesome. They jump all over the place. They're super hard to catch, very finicky, and presentation's important. And then like any guy went out and bought all the stuff. I'm like, I'm going all in here. And
you got the waders, the whole thing, right?
I'm on my second pair of waders. Well, first pair had a leak. I'm like, what the hell? And then that second pair too, I was a little too confident. I'm like, whoa, why is it getting cold here? Oh, I'm a little too deep, because tying the damn knot and the leader on there, it takes me forever, this fine filament crap. And I get snagged. I'm like, damn it, I just tied it. I'm going to get it. And I'm like, shit, I'm too far out there. And but man, I'm telling you, when you get one on, it's worth it. There's some hiking involved to get to the spots.
Yep.
That part. Matter of fact, I decided I'm gonna go Lower Niagara. This is in the winter. I've been like March. I'm gonna go Lower Niagara. A friend's son who catches these monsters. Like, I'm gonna go do it. And he tells me, so the kid messaged me on Facebook, tells me where to go. And so I'm hiking down. I go to Art Park. I'm hiking down to the bank, and I'm like, all right, he's saying go under the Whirlpool Bridge. I'm like, how the hell does he get down there? And I see these ropes, and I'm like, I've got to rappel down. So that's what I did. I'm rappelling down. I am like, I'm
It's an
rappelling.
adventure course.
Oh my gosh. Well, let me tell you, I'm also like, I'm rappelling to my death, because if this tree breaks, I was a little heavier over the winter, and like this tree breaks, I'm falling straight down, smacking my head off a rock and into the damn thing. And I got down there and I could see the fish. They were teasing me. They're jumping out of the air, out of the water, breaching, nothing. Just not even going for, what I'm presenting. But
they knew you were an amateur. They're like,
yes,
just gonna mess with this guy.
I need someone to take me there to show me exactly how they do it. Because most streams around, you can go into the water. Like I'm not going to Lower Niagara. I'm fishing from the bank there. Like, how fast that water is, not a chance.
Yeah.
Or you have to tie a rope to me to do that to a tree. But it's cool. There's some danger involved. As a matter of fact, my son asked me, Dad, how'd you break that pole? Like, you use longer pole, like, up to 13-foot rods. And I was 18 Mile Creek in Hamburg. Like, there's a bridge area there, and I was on a good run. I had a good run going, and I wanted to keep it going. So, like an idiot, I'm like, I can climb these rocks, and you got the spikes on your boots, and I catch a spike, and when you're gonna fall, and you're gonna fall. Like, I was like, okay, I am going here. So I threw the pole to catch. I caught myself in a push-up position with my face sideways, so I didn't smack it off this giant boulder. Like, just caught it, and was more pissed that I broke my rod tip and my day was done and I had to climb out of the gorge than the fact that I fell and had this massive bruise on my leg, whatever. But that element there's too, like, you're out in nature, and some of it's unpredictable. It's pretty cool.
I fly fished for the first time last year out in Colorado. That was a little bit different. But
Did you get anything?
I did. It
Okay.
took me a little bit. Took me probably about 15, 20 minutes of doing it and practicing it. 'Cause that is artwork to fly fish. You got to know how to do it right. Because if you don't do it right, it's not going to work for you.
Yeah,
So,
I just bought a fly rod. I just bought one. So I'm gonna, because when I see guys catch him on fly rods, it looks even better than on my center pin reel. It just, and they catch bigger fish. So
you're going to take a fly fishing masterclass?
No, why would I take a class? I got YouTube.
Just go do it.
Watch it on YouTube.
For that. Okay, fine.
I'll tell you one of the cool. So have you ever been deep sea fishing?
I love deep sea fishing, and that's my favorite thing of all time, because some of the things that you can get and see and watch other people get is mind blowing.
So I
love deep sea fishing, but
I've
a bunch
been
of times.
I've been once. It was this past year. It was in Hawaii. I was there for work. I know, tough assignment, right?
Yeah.
You gotta go to Hawaii for
what a
2
shame.
weeks. So we had one off day, and our engineer, Jaime, who is awesome. This guy, he's my favorite guy to work with. He's just a blast. And I go, Jaime, I want to go fishing. You want to go fishing? He's like, yeah, I'll set it up. We'll go out in a charter. So we're in North Shore of Oahu. We went out right near Pipeline Beach where they surf, right? Yep. And the guys are like, hey, do you want to go? We can go 15 miles out for marlins, or we can stay in the inner reef here, inner shelf, like 3 miles. I'm like, let's stay there. It's looking a little rough. Well, nothing's happening all day, right? Except for us having some beers. And so nothing's happening. And then my sunset's coming in, and all of a sudden, boom, this explosion, right? So the first mate tries to get it on, and he missed it, right? So the captain's like, I'm circling back. That was a marlin. We're like, really? Wow. And circles back. We come right back to all of a sudden, boom. And they're like, Kevin, get on that. So I go grab the pole, and it's just like, zzz, it's just singing, right? And they're like, just wait. They're like telling me to wait. And like, everybody's yelling on the boat, like going nuts. And so I'm like, all right, this must be something special. So it starts to slow down. They're like, hit it. I'm like, all right. So I start cranking on it, and 200 yards out, this fish comes out of the water, and it was majestic, man. It was a blue marlin, right? They're like, blue marlin. Oh, they're going like now they're. This is the charter captain. He's like going crazy. Now it's getting dusk. He's like, we got one shot at this. Let's go. And I'm like cranking on this thing. And I am like screaming, like I'm telling Jaime, get over. He's like, no, you got it. You got it. So anyways, 30 yards from the boat, it comes out and dances across the water. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. The second,
of course, no one has it on video.
Oh no, we have it on video.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Okay.
It was awesome. We have it on video. So then we're getting it close. I mean, it's just like we're approaching an hour, like in fighting this thing. Back of the boat, the guy's calling, gaff, need a gaff. So my buddy Jaime hands him the gaff. He goes to gaff it and it snaps off. It just yes.
Oh, come
right.
on.
So he's like, you gotta be kidding me. He's like, I had it the leader's in my hand. He was ready to swing it. And he just looks at me. He's like, man, I'm so sorry. I go, what are you sorry about? I go, that was a thrill of a lifetime. Are you kidding me? I go, we got it on video. I go, we got it right there. I saw it. It was massive. And I said, I'm good. I said, plus, we had to kill it. You just saved me probably a couple grand in mounting fees and shit. There's no way.
That's right.
There's no way my wife.
Yeah, I didn't see it behind you in your man cave there in your studio.
Oh, hang on.
Hold on. Here we go.
So there is I had this made. You can see him.
Yep.
See him right there coming out of the water. That's me here cranking on it, with the mate there. But
that's cool.
It was awesome. It was so awesome. I said, are you kidding me? That was a thrill of a lifetime. And
hey, I'll tell you what, I don't know if you've done it, and I'm assuming you have at this point, but I went salmon and trout fishing in Lake Ontario last year, or maybe it was a year and a half, 2 years ago. And man, some of the fish you catch out there are enormous, and the fights are brutal. I mean, you're putting all of your being into the fights with these fish. It is remarkable. I mean, man v nature.
Yes.
What's
There's
out there?
You get a 20 pounders routine out there.
For sure.
Right. Yeah.
Remarkable.
If you're not, listen, even if you're not like a hardcore fisherman, if you're not going out with one of these great charter captains we have on either Lake Ontario, Lake Erie here in Western New York, just for a day, right? I mean, they got all the gear, right? And you might say, well, wow, it's $500 to go. You know what? It's worth it. Yeah. It is worth it.
Yep. You
spend a day, you'll see what great fishing we have here in Western New York. It's awesome. So, who knows, Bo? I might even do a fishing show at some point. That's how into it I'm getting.
Yeah, you'll get that. You and Jim Hanley will do something, right, together?
Yeah, that's right. Hey, I loved that when he did that great Northeast Outdoors. Yeah. And actually, I had him. We chartered him last year to go smallmouth fishing. It was my he's 10 then. My 11 loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, we caught 30 smallmouths. It was like bang bang. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's super cool. And lastly, on fishing, I always joke that I haven't really done. I'm not a handy guy. I don't do construction or anything like that. So I have like radio hands. So anybody that has like really soft hands with no calluses or blisters or whatever, if you're going to have any kind of fishing in your future, wear gloves, because the blisters that I took home with me from going salmon and trout fishing were not fun. And you're doing first aid, like all in the process of catching fish as well. So like,
yes.
My only tip.
Here's a so it's funny. My youngest, I have 3 kids. My youngest is 11 now, but gosh, this had to be 3 years ago. So he'd been 8. We maybe even younger than that. He's going to cast, right? We're just fishing the neighborhood pond for bass. And I see the bobber, like he casts it forward and I see the bobber go flying out in the water. I'm like, your line broke. Where the hell's the hook? And then I look at my arm and I'm like, and he's like, oh my God, I killed Dad, right? So he's riding his bike home and I'm looking, I'm like, it's a barbed hook. I'm like, and that sucker, like, the skin is coming up. I'm like, geez, that's in there. Now, I have a neighbor who is a surgeon. I was looking to see if he was home. I'm like, geez, I got to see if I can get this. Now, I get home, my wife is like sleeping out by, out in the patio, taking a nap. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to wake her up. And I'm like, I got to get this thing out. So I got some pliers and I'm like, I was going to push it through because again, it's barbed and it's in there pretty deep. And I go to push it. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. So then I got to back it out. It was, you know, the movie scenes where they're taking the bullet out themselves.
Yeah.
Right. I felt like this. I actually got a kitchen towel. I bit on the towel and pulled it back out.
So good.
I mean, I was dripping with sweat, you know, because my daughter goes, "What are you doing?" She's like, "Oh, I'm not taking that out." I'm like, "All right, just stay here in case I, you know, pass out." I couldn't believe how tough it was to get out. How much I was just drenched in sweat and like trying to get this stupid. I mean, it wasn't a big hook, but I mean, it was in there. And I was like, "Damn."
Oh, that's awesome. Well, not really, but it's a great story.
It was
All right, so listen, when's your next SiriusXM? And so tell us about that, where people can listen to you, and then T to Green, tell us about where people can listen to that.
Sure. My next SiriusXM PGA Tour radio event will be the BMW Championship, second playoff event. That's gonna be the last weekend in August. So that Thursday, I think it's August 26th. I'll be doing that, and we'll be on from about noon to 7 p.m. Eastern. And again, that's on SiriusXM 92 and 108, or, you know, on pgatour.com or PGA Tour app. The leaderboards, they have a headset icon there. You click on that, you listen for free when we're on. And then T to Green, we have, just about a month to go in our season on WGR 550 AM. And that's from 7 to 8 a.m. every Saturday morning. T2green.golf. It's the number 2 is the 2. T2green.golf is our website. You can check it out there. We have some podcasts up there. We need to do more of those, but we put some up every now and then when something important's happening in golf and in the off season. So that's what we got going on, Bull.
Good. I don't expect to be a guest on T to Green for good reason.
Well, you were playing behind us in some of those shots. Yeah, you're not on the lineup yet.
And by the way, DeChambeau, speed up your game. You slowed us down tremendously.
Yeah.
I was trying to do like a 4-hour round that it ended up being like 4:10, 4:15. So come on, man.
You know, I don't think I play that slow, but I'm sure I play a little slower than most.
Thanks for doing this, man. I had a lot of fun. Hopefully you did too, and we'll do it again. All right.
I did. My pleasure, Bull.
All right. Thanks, man.
See ya.